invested in OpenAI. We went into that deal at a valuation of 150 billion. Today, OpenAI has risen from that 150 billion to be valued at 750. I usually tell people my first exit as an angel investor was a negative one. We let people know that this is not where you invest your
money for your school fees.
Yeah. If I don't know you, I won't give you my money.
Even if I have a great idea.
Any fool can have an idea.
Right.
I told you for Anthropic we did 3 days, right? We raised 680K within 3 days. For OpenAI, we had to raise $2 million in 24 hours.
$2 million in 24 hours?
Imagine you investing 10K and getting 8X. That's 80K. One of the things that make you a successful founder is that you have the right network. Because many of them might take them out on dates and all that. I'm watching for some of those things. And when we want to invest in a company, sometimes we talk to their exes. They won't know.
What? Yes. That's a little too far.
It is not far. You are collecting my money. No, let's talk to your exes.
Hi, Mr. Salami.
Hey, Dovi, how are you?
I am doing well. Thank you for coming on the show.
It's a pleasure.
Are you excited to be here?
Yeah, I mean, it's a long drive from the other side of town.
Thank you. Appreciate you coming. So I asked someone what questions they wanted to ask Wale, and I'll ask my first question, and then I'll ask their question. So I know that your company, Midlo Angels, recently co-invested in some really cool companies like OpenAI and Anthropic. And first, that is massive, that is huge. But I'm wondering if I invested $10,000 when you guys were raising funds. When they IPO, is it this year or next year?
We don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know yet.
Whenever they IPO, how much can I expect my $10,000 to become? Is that a straightforward question or?
No, it is not straightforward, but I can answer it hypothetically.
Okay.
Right. Take for instance, we invested in OpenAI. I think Q3 of 2024 rather.
Okay.
It's going to be 2 years now. And so we went into that deal at a valuation of 150 billion. Right? Today, as of today, OpenAI has grown. I mean, as we all know,
right,
has risen from that 150 billion to be valued at 750 now.
Wow.
Yes, 750. Right. That's like I'm trying to do some calculations.
Yeah, that's like 500.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. So if you invested $10,000 at 150 billion, that means that the moment the company gets to 300, 450, right? 450 is 600.
Right.
We've done a 4x. So that's like 40K. Yeah. But that's the interesting thing about private equity.
Okay.
I mean, venture capital. When you go in super early, for instance, when a company comes to the stock exchange and they're having their IPO, the initial public offering,
right?
When the public is buying at $20 a share, the folks like us who have gone in super early probably bought at 20 cents.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's the upside in there. But I'll be lying to you if I say it's like that every time. That is not true, right? Because there are also moments, there are some times where it wouldn't go that way. In fact, I usually tell people that my first exit as an angel investor was a negative one. It was a company I invested in, I think, pre-COVID, I think in Pakistan, some Middle Eastern company. And 6 months later, we just got an email with the founder saying he was tired running the company.
No.
Oh, yeah. So we get updates from them like on a quarterly basis. So that came and he said, so the company is shutting down. That's what you get as an investor. When I got that email, I was like, okay. I just went back to my data source where I keep all my records, investment record, and I was like, I can't believe I invest in this guy. So sometimes you would even have lost track of the amount you invested. So I saw that it was just 1K. I'm like, oh, okay, thank God. It was just 1K. And I just rationalized that, okay, if I had bought the phone and it fell into water, so I was like, okay, yeah, that's not bad. It's not the end of the world. Interestingly, 2 weeks later, another investment that I did around the same time in a fintech company in Ghana, returned 11.3x.
Wow.
Yeah. So and that's the way the investment works. So if you do 10, probably 7 or 8 might not pan out.
Okay.
Or 5 will probably be totally dead. Or you would have 1 or 2 that will give you 2, 3x, right? Or you will have one that can do more than 10x.
Okay.
The idea is one of those investments will return all the capital that you invested and some more.
Nice. Right. So did your 1K become 0 or did you get some money out of that?
The guy that died? No, it's 0.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's 0. Definitely 0.
So there's no protection with these things?
Yes. So that is why before you invest in private equity,
okay,
there's a requirement, a SEC requirement that says you must be an accredited investor. Meaning you must be earning a particular amount of money on a yearly basis. But the idea of that certification is for you to understand the level of risk you're taking, right? The company dies, you lose everything, right? I know sometimes that can be hard for some investors, right? And that's why, apart from doing deals like that, another thing we do at Midlo is we do a lot of education. We let people know that this is not where you invest your,
money for your school fees.
Yeah, this is not where you invest money for your school, money for your mortgage, right? And it's long term.
Okay.
And that is why a lot of our people don't do stuff like this, because one, we're not used to it. Many of us didn't grow up we didn't grow up around money, right?
Yeah.
In fact, one data that's stunned me was the fact that only 3% of GPs of any fund are black. 3%. So it's understandable why it's difficult for you to find the richest people in the world, and you see people that look like us, right? Because that's an asset class that we are not playing at, And the interesting ramification to that is, so when it comes to fundraising now, black founders are now getting 1.5% of the old teeth, right? And some people wanted to equate that to, people are just being racist. And I'm like, nah, it is not racism, right?
It's not racism?
Right. If I don't know you, I won't give you my money.
Even if I have a great idea?
Yeah, because ideas are 10 for $1. Any fool can have an idea.
Fair enough.
Right?
Fair enough.
One of the things that make you an efficient or a successful founder is that you have the right network. Some people will tell you they're raising friends and family around and they're raising 500K or 5 million. I'm trying to look at my cycle. I saw a joke on Twitter. I was like, even if I sell all my friends and family, they will be worth 500K, right? Yeah. And so that's the power of networking. So for me, it's very, very important because you also want to give money to somebody who can actually, bring value out of it for you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I've heard so many things. One of the things is that you think that black founders are at a disadvantage when it comes to fundraising because there are not a lot of black folks who are angel investing, and as such, the money is not getting to them. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is partially correct, right? Partially correct, but there are several factors that affect that. Yeah, truly, like I told you, 3%. If 3% of the, for instance, last year, I think there are about $300 billion that was raised in the U.S. Right? 3% of, you don't even want to imagine that.
Yeah.
That's some figure that's about 3% of $3 billion. That's even less than $1 billion, right?
Yep.
So for me, it's simple. We should stop complaining about not being invited to a party. Let's start a party by ourselves, right? And invite whoever we want to invite,
I love that.
right? And that's what led to the creation of Midlo Angels, right? Because right now, so that's one. Another thing is now we got to be careful, right? So when one do invested, will I give you money simply because you're black? No, right? Because we've had cases in the past where we invested and the founder just went out buying luxury cars, and doing all sort of interesting, dumb stuff. And the annoying thing about that is I have investors who Midlo is a network, right? We are all friends, right? Okay. So there are some other guys who put money together for what we invest, and they be like, Wale, what is wrong with this dude? At that point, I'm like, because at that point, there's really nothing I can do, right? I just have to let them know, okay, we're sorry about that, we'll do. So for me, one thing that I've done, one of the lessons from that is, if you are my friend and you want us to invest in, the roadblocks are way higher, right? Because one of the things I try to do is I remove myself from the equation. Okay. So we have an investment committee in place they don't care whether you know Wale or not, right? They'll look at those stuff, and if they don't say yes, we're not going to fund it, right? And then we also insist on some other. We look at some metrics that you have. If you haven't even met those metrics, you wouldn't even get before the committee. So after passing and meeting those metrics, then we look at other factors like your governance structure, right? Do you have a board of governors? Do you have a board of advisory board, right? How often do they meet? And some other stuff. But the reality is, even when you do all of those, it doesn't mean a company will be successful, right? Because at the end of the day, that's why it's called venture capital, right? It's like you're taking money, out there and you're playing with it, right? It could either go, it could either go north or south, right? But as a good manager, what we try to do is to ensure that we have actually done all that needed to be done, right? So if the company fails, we'll know that it's not from the place of us not doing our due diligence, right? Because markets could turn. Look at the war in Iran today. Yeah. If you have started a company saying there would be war, right? If you're in trouble. Yeah.
Fair enough. We'll get back to something you said, but how did you even get started, right? You said it's not common. You're the only Black person I know that owns an angel investment company. So how did you find out about this? And I imagine that you need some kind of powers or really solid network to be able to command this. So how did you get started? How long have you been doing this for? And where did the idea come from?
Yeah, I've always wanted to be successful. I think that's the thing. There has to be a drive, right? And being successful, there are different routes, right? You could scam somebody, you'll be successful, right? But knowing the values, the Christian values that I was brought up with and that I live by, I know that is not.
It's not an option.
So you have to find some edifying, ways to do that. So I've always been inquisitive about venture capital, private equity. The first time I heard about angel investing was a company in Nigeria saying they got money from Harvard and some people angel invest. I'm like, what was that? So I started Googling and all of that. So I will get to the States June 6th, 2014.
Okay.
Yeah, and I joined the army like 3 months later because,
Thank you for your service, by the way.
Right, but it was while I was in the army that stuff came up again, and I started doing my research. I called up a VC firm saying, I heard you guys are taking investment.
A random VC firm?
Oh, yeah, random. In fact, I think, random VC firm. And the guy was like, who are you again?
Wow.
So I tried to introduce myself. It was, how much do you earn? And I told him my salary. It was just like, I'm sorry. You got to be heading like up to like 120K a year for you to,
were you trying to invest?
Yeah, I was trying to invest. There are some points you get to I've never felt like I was poor until I had that conversation with that guy. So at that point I knew, okay, number one, there's something you always say that you have to look for skills that are high-paying skills, develop high-paying skills and go for jobs that would get you those money. Right. So at that point, I was like, okay, this weapon I'm carrying around probably don't work. So I knew I had to get out of the military. So I got out of the army and then I went back to school for MBA. So, but prior to that, I had taken a course online on Coursera on angel investing. Right, so I knew the foundation, I knew the basics, right? And then I found out there was a group based out of Africa that was doing angel investing, so I joined them. The investment I told you we lost was with that group. That group went on to invest in Flutterwave. They have about three unicorns, like right now.
Nice.
Yeah, so I wasn't just experimenting. I realized that those guys will probably not accept me, so I have to look for people who look like me. Yeah.
So this is you joining as an angel.
Oh yeah, as an
Okay.
angel, as an angel.
Yep.
Because I mean, you can't climb a tree from the top. You got to start from the beginning.
That's a word.
Yeah. Yeah, you gotta start the climb from the beginning, and that's the mistake most people make. You want to do something new. You just want to. Because it's always, if anybody looks at us now, oh, OpenAI, database, they're like, oh my God, they're doing well. It wasn't, we didn't start like that, right? We didn't start like that. So I went back to school for my MBA, and it was in UT Arlington. So 2018, I can remember. It was during one of my classes. One of my female professors was talking about funding a business, and she, unfortunately for her, she mentioned venture capital. I was waiting for it, so I just latched and I'm like, people will look at me, they're not in this sector, right? All my frustrations I was passing it like as a question. She was like, no, I don't think it has anything to do with race. So you see where my comment came from, the other side. And she was like, if I tell you 5 things to do and you do it, you will get into the venture capital. I'm like, bring it on. And she told me, number one, search on, go on Google, search for angel investors in Dallas, angel networks in Dallas. I did that. She said, if you see the founder or executive director, which I am one of them today, right? He said, just go on LinkedIn, look for the person, send them a message. I did. And so I was doing all of those things so that I could tell her, my classes were weekends, Friday and Saturday. So I tell her the next week that, I did it, it didn't work. 30 minutes later, the guy responded to me.
Wow.
Saying that, because I was like, I'm an MBA student, blah, blah, blah. I'd like to do an internship with you. I did that. He fixed an appointment, an interview for Tuesday, right?
Wow.
I showed up in downtown Dallas, the rest is history. I got an internship with that guy. The guy runs one of the best run fund, in North America. He runs an annual fund. Midlo now, we've done about 5 funds with that guy. We invest with him every year. When I eventually, left him, got a job with Amazon, started making some money, and I decided to invest and to found Midlo Angels. So it took some time. And before Midlo Angels, I've even been an angel for 4 or 5 years.
Right.
I actually started investing when I was a soldier, while I was in the military, even though the money wasn't that high and all of that. So what I would say is there were always people who will tell you no. Beginnings are hard, very, very hard. Sometimes you tell yourself, you ask yourself, is it even really worth it, right? Should I still keep holding on, right? We'll do programs sometimes and it will be hard to get people to come, right? And you feel like these people need this thing, right? But like I said, Rome was not built in a day.
Yeah.
Just be patient. Build with purpose. And once you know what you're doing, the staying power will always be there. And because when the results begin to roll in, it will be like you haven't been doing anything all this while, right? Yeah.
That's interesting. Seems like you created your own luck from calling up the venture capital company you found online, to knowing that there was some sort of salary requirement, to getting an MBA to make sure that you tick that box, to following through with what your professor said. And you're here today investing in companies, and we're all just so in awe of the work that Midlo is doing. And I recently joined the group a couple of months ago, and is it oversubscription? That's what you call it? I know that when you announced something at the end of the day, you're like, guys, it's full. That is crazy. How do you convince, or do you have to convince people to drop their money? Because it's not easy. You guys are not asking for, let me even ask you, is there a minimum amount that someone needs to join Midlo and to invest?
Yeah. So of course, when we started, it was free, right?
Okay.
Because at that point, I just wanted everybody. I wanted all my friends. The idea behind Midlo is just friends. In fact, Midlo started as 3 friends invested in the company.
Okay.
So we did the first company. I think that company is in the UK. It's probably dead now, right? It's probably dead now. Then we felt like, okay, we could get more people in. At some point, we realized that we don't want everybody. We need to start screening. And so we put a registration fee.
Yep.
So when we list a deal, we typically would put a minimum there. For Anthropic, when we wanted to arrange, our goal was 200K.
Okay.
Right. 200K, and we're going to raise the money within 3 days.
Okay.
Right? Within 3 days. But we ended up raising 685, within those 3 days.
Wow.
685. We had one, few minutes before the deadline, someone committed 200K.
Oh my God. Wow. For real?
When I woke up and I saw that, I called my venture assistant and I'm like, is someone trying to prank us? Because it felt like a prank, right? And interestingly, that was one of the two institutional investors that I told you we had. There are two banks actually.
Okay.
Right. So when you fill our forms, we have your details. So we got the email and I told him, follow up with them. I would have followed up on a good day. You think that's like the biggest commentary we've ever gotten. I should be the one following up, but I thought it was a prank. So I was like, I don't want to waste my time. You go follow up. Let me try and see if we can close this out. But interestingly, I have another friend who invested through his company too. So I asked him, do you know these people? He said, oh, yeah, I know them. I know their the board chair and all of that. Okay. So we tried to reach out to them. We didn't hear how we got a response. We sent emails out saying, are you guys for real or you're just you just played around? And they got back to us saying that, oh yeah, we got the deal. We didn't even know how they got the deal, right? But they got the deal, and by the time they got it, they felt like they wouldn't be able to make the deadline. So the person was forwarded to them, told them, you just fill the form. We'll get back to you and let you know that So to cut long story short, when we found the person, they begin to ask. I mean, because if you're going to drop 200K, you got to ask some hard questions. They begin to ask my staff all the questions. The guy was like, Mr. Wale, they asked him. I'm like, okay, you know what? Just give me his number. Let me call him. So I called him directly. And within 5 minutes, we had a deal. Within 5 minutes, he was just like, okay, so I'm going to So this person invested for himself. Like he did another 10K for himself. And he'd be like, okay, but my company is still interested. I have to push this through the board. Do you have anything that can support? I'm like, I don't have anything apart from what you got. So, but maybe this could help. I said, I can send you our annual report for the last 2 years. So you see where corporate governance is, right? Yeah. Because at that point, you can't go and set up your board and backdate it, right? So it's important to build even when no one is looking, because that credibility will come in for you when you need it, when you need it most. Immediately, I sent those annual reports. In 10 minutes, he told me the board is giving a green. They're going to wire the money.
Nice.
We did that.
Wow. How do you sleep at night? If somebody is giving me 200K and trusting me for something that I have no control over, because technically you do not. How do you sleep at night? Like, are you worried or your contracts just cover you? I'm just trying to get in your head, right?
No one has ever asked me that question before, and I think it's a very legit question. When I wake up, some people do a lot of stuff. I wake up, I get on my knees, I pray. No.
Oh, you check your bank account? Or?
I wake up, I check my emails, like, okay, what part of the world is burning right now? What's happening to this company or that company? Because we have companies across the globe, right? We have companies even in the Middle East that are affected by the war in Iran, right? So it's a lot of burden. Like I cannot begin to put it together in words. But one thing, number one is so when you're investing with us, we have a sort of list of disclaimers to let you know, okay, we have done our due diligence, we've vetted this company, we believe that they are who they say they are, they will do what they promise us to do, but it's also left to you to do yours, right? So don't say, oh, Wale pushed it to me. You have to do your own, right? So that they understand the level of risk they're taking. And at the end of the day, the rest is just hoping for the best. Hoping for the best. And I was talking with a friend who we actually did the Anthropic deal together. He's based in Houston, Wale. And Wale was like, Wale, the only thing we have is our name, right? Because that's all we got. We've done some deals at Midlo that for over a year, we didn't even sign any documents. But folks they will drop the money, right? That's why, you have to be careful because people are watching you everything. They're watching everything you do. And I realize that most of these people, majority of them are my friends, like my best buddies, right? So mean, I feel that if I was some frivolous guy and all of, they wouldn't give this money to me.
Absolutely.
In fact, when I found out the guy who brought in that 200K, I was just like, you must have so much confidence in me to like do that. But I realized that your personal brand is very, very important, and it is all you got, right? If people believe in your brand, they will do anything, even when they stand to get nothing, and they stand to get nothing from it.
Yeah. I don't want to be you right now, but I commend you for the work that you do. And I see how you show up for people. And I think that fits into your personal brand, right? You're the person who goes to people's 1-year-old kids' party. You're driving 1 hour to show up for other people, right? So it's natural for people to trust you and support you. So I'm not surprised that you're getting this level of support and trust. I think it's a testament to the work that you do and how you pour into other people. So well done.
Thank you. I believe, one of my mantras in life is that I believe you can get anything you want in life if you can help enough other people get what they want, right? Most times we live in a world where almost everybody is selfish, right? But once you understand that, if I can help to maybe achieve a goal, even if I don't get a dime from it, that satisfaction of saying, oh my gosh, she just reached 1 million in views, right? I know there could be some monetary stuff behind the scene, but I don't care. The fact that I have a role, I forwarded whatever you shared, it's enough satisfaction. And for me, I think that is very, very important. It is very, very important. It's one trait I learned in the army. We have a mantra of never leave a comrade behind, right? I always tell my friends, right? I don't have many friends, even though I'm out there, right? I'm one of those people that I will go to a foreign jail to get a friend out, Because if I can call you my friend, that means I know your goals, I know where you're heading, right? There are some checks and balances that have been there. So for you to be in jail, it has to be something that I can defend, right? Yeah, loyalty is very, very key, and if you can help enough other people, achieve what they want in life, you will never have a problem achieving your goals.
I love that. How much of the discipline and the success you have now comes from being in the army?
I would say a large chunk of it. The military is about we usually have a joke during basic training that it's the military is the largest leadership training institute in the world, right? The U.S. Army literally have a blank check when it comes to soldiers, right? Take care of us, give us everything, anything we want. Like, I broke into tech. I worked in tech today simply because of the military, because I served in the army. Almost all Fortune 500 companies have a military program, right? It was through that program I got into Amazon, right? So it's amazing. It's an amazing brand. And there are loads of other benefits that probably not be able to share here, right? That you make from just being in the military. But for me, more importantly, is the comradeship. I remember, and this experience will always stay with me. I remember in 2015 when I graduated from basic training. We have a tradition where when you're going to be standing at attention during graduation to disperse everyone, they'll tell your family to come in and tap you out, right? So the corollary to that, if you're so unlucky that you don't have a family member, it means you're going to be standing there until you just also come. So it happens that nobody, I didn't have anybody, my wife wasn't in the country at that time. She was still back in Nigeria. And, but a friend of mine from Sierra Leone, his parents were around, of course, they bad about me a lot. So when he saw that nobody was, it was like, Daddy, you need to go tap at Salami, right? So they
Did you know that no one was coming?
Oh, no, I knew.
So what was the plan?
Have you ever been in a situation where, like, the worst, whatever would happen, right? I know something was just going to give. So at the end of the day, there's something we have in the military. It's called the AAR, after action review. So for every exercise we do, even as we have attacked Iran, they will do it the day after, right? So what did they do right, what did they do wrong, what can we improve on? So that evening, we're having that with the company commander. And it was like, so what went right? Everybody, what went wrong? What could you, like, yeah. So someone said, oh, Salami didn't have nobody, and oh, I feel bad for him and all of that. So the commander was like, so Salami, how are you feeling? I'm like, I appreciate your concern, but the reality is I have 1,000 of my brothers around there, right? So yeah, even though I don't have like my family, but you guys are my family, and that's one thing the military gives you. You go anywhere, you say you're a military, the world will literally stand still for you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a thankless service. It's a thankless service, putting your life on the line for our safety. So I think you guys deserve everything, every benefit, every salute and appreciation that you get. So yeah.
Thank you.
How did you get the opportunity to invest in these tech companies? Like, yeah, I don't know where to start from. Even if I was to start a venture capital today, like, how do you get the opportunity to invest? Do you need like a certain level of, are there metrics before they let you in these rooms? Or I'm just curious.
There are definitely metrics. There are metrics, right? But the most important metric is liquidity, right? You got to be liquid. If you don't have the money on you, you must be able to raise it. I told you for Anthropic, we did 3 days, right? We raised 680K within 3 days. For OpenAI, we had to raise $2 million in 24 hours, right?
$2 million in 24 hours?
So it's not just you. It's not just you having that access. You must that access must make sense, must work for you, right? And there are lots of checks and balances. Today, we own a farm. My family own a farm. We live on a ranch, right? Someone came and I'm like, I don't know anybody who does crazy things like you do. What wave of thought was going through your head made you think you could buy 5 acres of ranch? But it's simple. For me, when the goal always precedes the achievement, right? Once you have a goal, the way the universe works, everything else will connive together to ensure that the goal aligns. I told you earlier on, you need to be an accredited investor. You must be valued. You must be worth a particular sum of money, right? You can't do that in America without having property, right? So for me, I was like, okay. And there's this data that I stumbled into that says 70% of millionaires in America, 70, are made through real estate, 70. However, 90% of billionaires are made through venture capital. Yeah, so it means that if I have 2 properties worth 500K each, I'm a millionaire, right? If I want to move from 1 million to 10, I need 20 properties. From 10 million to 100 million, I need 200 properties. You see where that is going. At some point, you can't use that kind of arithmetics again. You have to go exponential. Exponential, right? I'm going to be sharing some deep stuff here, right? You got to go exponential. And for you to be able to get to that level, you need to do something, you need to do things differently. Okay. Right? And one of the ways is to venture into things that most people are not even interested in. Boring businesses that don't look sexy. For instance, we bought our property, let's say at 1.2 million, right? It had just a horse carving. It didn't have anything else, right? Now we have we have like a butchery. It's not world class, right? It's small, right? We have a butchery, and we have some other improvement we've done on the property. If I want to list that property tomorrow, definitely not going to be 1.2. It won't even be 1.5. Why? Because I've added value to it. So when we're going to do that deal, we had to sell 2 of our properties. One of our properties was the one I bought in the military. It was in Killeen. I bought that property for $206,000, and we sold it for, I think, $230. Okay. Right? It was about $24,000 in profit. Right? I mean, the difference in price and all of that. So to me, I was like, that is so small. It doesn't make any sense. Whereas there was another property, and we bought that property from 2016 till 2022 when we sold it. Right? About 6 years. 6 years. Whereas there was another property we bought in Dallas, Midlothian, in 2019, and we sold in 2022 in 3 years. We made 120 on that one. So I went through all that story to bring it together to say that sometimes people, when it comes to investment, people look out for, I want to buy something cheap. But what they don't realize is if you go for something cheap, your returns are also going to be very, very slow or cheap, right?
Right.
Whereas in the case of the other property, well, we paid heavily for it, but it turned out great at the end of the day. So it's the same thing, and I'm going to be quoting Trump in this. I know a lot of people have issues with Trump.
He's our president. He's our president.
I mean, there's nothing we can do about that for the next 3 years, right? He's an amazing businessman. His politics, I have issues with it, but he's a fabulous business guy. I read his book once, and he said something about buying an apartment complex, right? The New York kind of stuff. And it was like, do you know that if I bought this apartment complex for 100 million, by just painting one part of the 4 walls and changing the bulbs, I've already had a 50 million value to it, right? Because when you get to some levels, right, the value, like the way they rise, it's different from when you're still trying to put 1 and 2 together, trying to go from 2 properties to 20 to 200, right? So for me, I realized that for us to get to that next, from M to B, there are different routes to it. That's a fact, right? So there's no one size fits all.
Yeah.
But I feel that one of the easiest way to it is to invest in crazy things like ranches, wineries, pandemoniums, like things that when you call people, will be like, right? But the interesting thing about those is because they are rare, to even find comparables is hard.
Okay.
The opportunity that unlocks for you are the one that would determine what the value is. That's why anytime they interview Trump, they tell me, you're worth $3 billion. I said, no, it's 6. You know why? Because there's a measure of valuation they will go to that even they will be confused, that they'll be like, okay, what do you think this is? So, which is the same thing IRS does with us. Have you noticed that even though IRS have access to all your accounts, they see how much comes in. My wife works with the government. If you accept a job today, there's a system with the state of Texas that downloads it. Like, they get that information, they have it, right? So I've always been wondered, I've always asked myself that, when you have those information, why are you asking me to file my report, my tax filing? You know what I am, right? You could have just told me, oh, you made 600K last year. Just give us 100K. But no, they won't do that, right? Because they want you to self-declare, right? And the reason is this, because this company wasn't built for individuals, it's built for business. America is an enterprise, right? I was in Houston a few days ago to speak at a conference. And the first thing I told them, it was a Saturday, like few hours after U.S. attacked Iran. 2 weeks prior to that, we had an opportunity to invest in Kalshi and Replit. These are predictive markets and all of that. And before I went to bed on Friday, as I landed in Houston, I saw an alert saying, America is going to attack Iran. Yes or no?
For Kalshi?
For Kalshi.
Yep.
I'm like, I was like, nah, it's not going to happen. I didn't even put that, That morning, I looked at that bet. If I had placed a position on it, I would have made like $1,000, And I'm like, wow, it was unbelievable. So at that day, I was telling them, instead of you worrying about the politics of the war, right? As an American, this is a capitalist society. You need to learn how to milk it. Well, that is what it is, right? But guess what? This week, I made some money from. But this time around, it was the sport that your kids love. I was there. I think there was a UEFA matches and all of that. Okay. I did 3. I won 2. I made like 750. I made about 3x of what I invested. Yeah, we didn't. I see you're throwing that number here.
I mean, yeah.
So for me, that's the kind of country we live in, right? Wealth before used to be from A to B, 1 + 1, right? The next level, especially with AI, the next billionaires that are being created, some of them would have enterprises, they have companies that won't have staff.
Yeah.
Right? So we must be open-minded and be willing to take some risk.
Right. You've said a lot, and I appreciate you for sharing so transparently. Before I get to go from M to B, right? Like you're trying to do. How do you think about like angel investing Is it, like you said, it's not where you put like the money for your mortgage, right? But we're familiar with like 401ks and stocks and real estate. Do you think there's a sequence before someone should say, well, now I'm worth X amount, I'm comfortable enough to invest in, become an angel investor? Or are you of the school of thought that high risk, high reward? Going early and try to win. I'm just curious to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. Thank you. Thank you for asking that. What the experts say is that between 5 to 15% of your portfolio should be angel investing.
Okay.
Should be venture capital.
Yep.
Which is reasonable, right? I can tell you that is not what I'm doing. Right? That is not what I'm doing.
How many percent? I'm curious.
Oh, God. My wife will kill me. She just knows that I always don't have money.
Oh, my God.
Right? My wife is my CBN. Like, she's the lender of last resort. Right? Because for me, I'm just a crazy... I'm an investor at heart, right? And it's not just about angel investing. Sometimes it could be... If I enter a bookshop, I'll come out broke, right? Because I just love investing. Investing in myself, investing in stuff. So yeah, 5 to 10%. So meaning that if you have a portfolio of 150K, right, 10 to 15, right, 10 to 15K should do angel invest. And there's a way to go about it, right? So if you invest 10K, let's say in 10 deals at 1K, that days have gone up. We used to do 1K deals. Now, video you see is probably 2K. So let's say with that 10K, you have 5 deals. The way it works is simple. So if we do 5 deals, one of those deals, maybe in 3-5 years, gives you 11.5x.
Okay.
Don't spend the money.
Okay. Okay.
Do not spend the money. Invest it. Right.
So,
Push it
sorry.
back in.
Do I get my money back?
Oh, yeah, you
in
get your money
3-5
back.
years?
Yeah, that's what an exit is. You get,
Okay.
you get
So
your money back.
your company exits and you return investors' money back?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
If I want to keep going, can I keep going?
Oh yeah. No. You can't keep going. You have to invest in other deals because once we exit, that means our relationship with that company.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
It's over. It's gone. For instance, we invested in OpenAI, Databricks, and Anthropic. If they IPO tomorrow, you don't have a choice to say no. Well, keep my money there. No, we have to exit. Return your money to you. If you are still interested in that company, you can go to Robinhood and go buy their because at that time it will be open to the public. To invest.
I see.
Yeah. So that's what I would say. The most important thing is diversification, right? Do not put all your eggs in one basket, right? 401k is good. I mean, you have your company matching it and all of those stuff. Maximize all of those things, right? And with the extras that you have, and when it comes to angel investing, it doesn't have to be OpenAI or Anthropic.
Yeah.
It could be a friend. Many of us have friends who are founders. Will tell you, oh, I'm building something. That your 2K might turn to 2M in 10 years. Right, that's what happened with Amazon. When Jeff Bezos started, he needed to raise $2 million. He called about all his friends and families. Some of them wrote him checks of 45K. You know, I think his mom gave him like 200. Right, the company was worth 2 million. Oh, sorry, no. The company was worth 5M. Right, it was raising $2 million. Today, Amazon is over almost $2 trillion. Right, so that is the crazy thing about venture capital. It's exponential increments, right? Because most time when people invest, they tell me, oh, so what's the ROI? We don't do ROI. It's multiples, right? It's not ROI, it's multiples because these companies are growing at a crazy pace.
So if my friend comes to me and says, I'm raising funds, what are some things I should look out for?
Okay, because you know me, I'll tell you, don't give the money to your friend. Just tell the friend, oh, I know Wale. Send the deal to Wale.
Okay.
Right? So if I look at it and say, oh, it's good one and all of that, then you can say, okay, I'll do it. Give it to people who know what they're doing. Because most times, number one, I'm not even sure I'll invest in my friend's company. Right? I mean, as Wale Salami, right? Okay. Because you are blinders, right? And if you say no, they'll take it personal, right? So you have to do it in a way that they realize that it's professional.
So what does your team look out for? So assuming the founder is listening to this and they have plans of raising funds in the future, what are some things that your team would look out for? Is it the person? Is it the validity of the idea? Is it their previous work? What is the key thing you're looking out for when a founder comes to you to raise funds?
Yeah, we look out for a couple of things. Number one is the person. That is very, very important. I believe, like I think I said it earlier on, ideas are 10 for $1, right? So anybody can have an idea, right? But this person who, there's some people that even if you give them the dumbest idea, they would make it work. It's like there's a special grace on their life, right? And you will know them, right? And you know some that they are jumping from one idea to the other. They don't it's like they want to be everywhere, right? People like that, stay away from them, right? So that is one. We look at the person. One, we will likely, there's a higher chance that we will invest in a company if it has multi co-founders.
Okay.
Right? Because we don't want a key man risk, right?
Yep.
If you are the only founder in the company, if anything happens to you tomorrow, right? That means the company is sick when you're sick. The company is having a headache when you're having a headache. No, right? Because when you have co-founders, it elevates it a little. So there are more people who understand the back end, right? So and then another thing we look out for is how much time have you spent on solving this problem, right? There are some people that they build solutions and they start going to look to the problem for it, right? We'll rather prefer somebody who is dealing with the problem that exists already. Don't go and, right? For instance, what is the problem ChatGPT is solving, right? And that one is, we don't even know what the problem is again because it's multiplying by the day, right? And guess what? They're not manufacturing those things. They exist already. They're just tapping into it, using them as use cases. Anthropic is even crazier. Now, very soon, investment analysts will have no jobs because
they're analyzing.
Right. Yeah. I'm writing my book now with ChatGPT. This is a book that I've written 2 years ago. It's in manuscript, right? So ChatGPT is giving me more ideas to flesh it out and all of that, right? So those are existing problems. Whereas to write that book, I had to engage the services of a ghostwriter. Guess what? If you're a ghostwriter now, you better go look for another job, right? Because there are tools that... So you see what I'm saying? They are looking for existing problems and not that you... And founders are always... an idea is like your brainchild. If you're not careful, you are too close. You can't even see the weakness in those ideas, right? So it has to be something that is addressing an existing problem. Another metric we look at for you. Can you make money from this? Or are you making money from it? As a rule of thumb, we don't invest in pre-launched or pre-revenue companies. Why? Because we've done it in the past. We've got our fingers burnt, right? If you're building a company and you have 25 downloads, out of those 25, 5 are your family member, your husband, and there's a problem, right? Because if it's a good product, you would know, right? You even, people who don't know your name, as to maybe they would use that product before they realize, okay, I think that's a lady, right? So we look out for product market fit, right? A jollof rice does not need adverts because jollof rice is jollof rice anywhere. And if you can have some sauce that makes it, I think there's a proverb that says that a man who does a good wine does not need advertisement. People will beat a path to your doorways, right? That's product market fit. So we look at product market fit, like how fast are you acquiring customers? Right? Okay. What's the customer adoption? How much are you even using to do that? The last but not the least is, which we also look at now, is your corporate governance setting, right? Who can hold you accountable? Because we've had issues where we're giving folks money.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, you don't want us to talk about that. Anyway, maybe this will make your podcast go viral. But no, the experience is crazy. The experience is crazy.
Tell me about that. Give me an example. You can anonymize it so they don't fight you later. But
okay. I was going to write a book about this. So the way it works is when a founder is raising money, or like angels like me or folks who allocate capital, we're like besties. In the morning you see them, hey, what, Mr. Wale, how you doing? Blah, 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 I want this, I want this. But the moment that check shifts, they say, congratulations, baby, we're going to invest 100K in your business. Send me your bank details, we ship the money, we sign the contract. So typically, we're supposed to be getting, after giving you the money, the expectation is that I don't need to be part of your business. I don't even need to be on your board.
Okay.
Because I've had opportunities to serve on a few of the board. But minimum requirement, send those reports.
Okay.
If you can't do monthly, do quarterly.
Okay.
Or every 6 months. Worst case scenario, once a year, say, Mr. Salami, I'm still alive, the business is still growing. This is the report, right? Oh, Lord. We spend about 60% of our time trying to get those reports from them, and the funny thing is, the ones who are doing it, who are running a solid business, they don't have that problem. When you're pitching to me and I ask you, how often do you send reports?
Okay.
That's a way to test, right? If you tell me, I send a monthly, I say, don't worry, who are your old investors? If you call their names, most of them is a very small circle. I know them. I just, hey, Idris, you invest in this guy, how often does he send reports to you, right? If I know that report doesn't go out, I know there's a problem. Some of them, okay, so let me tell you about this founder. So last year, we were getting ready to do our annual report. So we have a table that, like a metric that we share with the investors to let them know the company, because that's a way for us to also track. I told you about some companies will die off. Yeah. Some will return a little bit. Some will give you crazy returns. It is that metric that tells us who is the. There are some companies we call them ghost. Ghost mode. You don't know whether they are still existing or not, right? Because the founders are too ashamed to come to the world and say, this is no longer working. I've failed. Let's move on. Right, and I think as Africans, we need to come against that culture, right? It's okay for you to know that something is not working, right, and move on to the next thing, right, and have a clean break, right? Yeah. People are going to say what they're going to say, it's not the end of the world, right? But the problem is, once there's an issue, they start.
They get quiet.
They get quiet. They don't want to talk to you. You send emails, they to go unreturned. So we devised a medium in Midlo where instead of us asking for them for the report, we tell them, facts behind the numbers. We send an open invitation to them. Come talk to us. Okay. Right? So if you're coming now, if I have 20 people who invested in you, I'm sending millions to those 20. Your money, the person that collected is here, right? Of course, they won't be asking you, what are you doing with my 2K, right? They just ask you about the business. And that has helped us to close that gap a little bit. Okay. But of course, there are still a few of them. There was one that told me that at this moment, he's not even talking to investors. Wow. Yeah, that he's not in the right frame of mind. And when I saw it, I thought it was a budget. And she just shook her head. Wow. There's one that told me, the year is ended already, and he or she's already on.
It's close for the year?
Close for the year. I said, no problem. January to February, we wrote things. And this person said they are still not available, right? It's painful. It's painful because some of these people are very close to me. Once we invest, we become friends, right? Yeah. And I think it's insulting. It's not even on a personal level now, right? Because to me, it's to the investors, right? Yeah. I want you to show up and tell them. I don't expect you to tell them all the glowing stories. Because what they don't realize is that most times as a human being, what we think is personal is actually general. Yeah. Right? What you think you are dealing with in the corner of it, someone else has that issue, right? And by talking about it, by sharing it, especially with a network where we have about 250, 300 members, we will have solutions to some of those things. Right. So if you notice, in the recent past, we've now gone to do super high deals with high-growth companies like Databricks. Yeah. The beauty of those ones is with those, we don't even need to bother with reports. Reports is in the BBCs. Yeah. It's because they are bigger companies. They're always in the news every time, so we see what is going on, right? Yeah, but those are interesting stories. It's part of the dark side of our business.
Have you lost any friendships, relationships because of this?
I wouldn't say lost friendships because I try not to take it personal. Okay. One thing I tell myself is if I wasn't running Midlo, would I even know this person? And the truth is I would probably not know them, right? So once you get to that level, you realize that it's not personal, right? It's business. There was a guy that if he says he wants to come to my house, I'll tell him not to come, right? Because I felt like the company is dead now. And he could have done it in a different... It was one of the most promising investments we had. This guy, he messed it up. Like, he squandered it. It was so close that we're close to getting an exit. When I announced to the investors, because I keep them updated, some of them were like, I'm going to price the car, I want to buy it. This guy was going to give us like like 8 or 9x, within the period of like 2 years. We were really like looking forward to. Imagine you investing 10K and getting 8x. That's 80K.
Right.
I have a friend who invested 20K that day.
But I imagine that these founders also want to win, right?
So that's the problem. Yes, they want to win. The problem is many of them are short-sighted.
Okay.
Many of them do not delay gratification.
Okay.
Right? Because if you see the guys who won, the Mark Zuckerberg of this world, there's some years. You see, when people say Mark Zuckerberg is buying islands now, he's moving from California to Florida and he's buying a $200 million. I don't care about that because you don't know how many ramen noodles that guy has eaten to build Facebook to where it is today, right? They paid their dues, right? That's the problem with these other guys. They want to live the soft life today.
Immediately.
Right? And it doesn't make sense because until your company gets to Series A, B, not even Series A, says D, C, D, that's when you should be able to if you really want to get money out of the company, sell your shares. It's as simple as ABC. And you do that when you get to the growth stage, right? Not when you have only raised $2 million, right? And you let it get into your head. Many of them, they never thought they could do it. That's another thing, right? So, so I love to invest in Boo Home. That's another thing I didn't tell you, right? Because many of them, I take them out on dates and all that. I'm watching for some of those things. And when we want to invest in a company, sometimes we'll talk to their exes. They won't know.
What?
Yes.
I think that's a little too far.
It is not far. You are collecting my money. No, let's talk to your exes. Because if you're really a good person,
Goodness.
if you're really a good person, you have to be. They want the best for you. You don't know. They want the best for you. But it's an interesting thing. Maybe because of the kind of person I am, I find it very, very annoying when people let money change, especially when it is small money.
I mean, yeah, small money is relative. But I'm just playing devil's advocate. But I imagine that I spent the last 6 years working so hard for this, and then 2M just lands in my account. I'm like, you know what, I've been driving this car for too long. Let me just, flex a little bit. This will help me increase my perceived value. So when I go to these meetings, people can take me seriously and it can translate into some more money for the company. I imagine that this is what goes through their mind. I don't think anyone is planning to, I have no idea.
You ain't got no idea.
Oh my goodness.
No. You ain't got no idea. I wish there would be nobody to listen to this so I can go down. If I say this, I might scatter the other dollar. So let's just leave it. No, you've got no idea.
Oh my God.
Some people misbehave. Like when I say misbehave, it's on a mega level. It's funny because for me, one of the things that always keep me grounded is wherever I am right now, it's nowhere near where God is taking me.
Oh yeah, I love that.
Right?
Yeah.
Like where we are now is the minimum we can be.
Yep.
Right? Because the way we're going is still far.
Yep.
So messing up at this level is you just being dumb. Right? It's one being dumb. Because there's this greater stuff out there.
Yeah.
So I always I love to play the long game. And I don't like to. There's some people that probably will not talk to you. If you lived in a different neighborhood, you won't know now because they like where you're living.
That's petty.
Oh, it is up. It's real, right? That's why sometimes you have to watch why people come around you, right? People come around you. People see you and they like you. They want to be your friend for different reasons.
True.
If anything changes, that's when you would realize
You know who your true friend is.
Yep. Yep.
Nice. Let's get into some more fun stuff. Let me pull up my rapid fire question. Okay. Are you ready?
Yeah.
What is the most expensive thing that you have spent money on in the last 6 months for yourself?
For myself, that's a very wrong question. I don't spend.
You don't spend money? Really?
I don't spend on myself. The most expensive thing I've gotten in the last 6 months was bought for me by my wife. So, yeah, she's my sugar mommy, literally. I don't know how to spend on myself. I'd rather just go invest the money somewhere or give it out.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, it's very very hard because the time I'll start rationalizing it. This $500 it will be worth something to someone that really needs it, right? So yeah, it's very like okay. I'll give you an instance. On my last trip, actually not my last trip for last year, I did some countries, and on my way back I lost my metal glass. I mean, what's it called, right? Yeah, I think that's about the only thing I lost. Then I also lost my earpiece, and I won't let my wife read. I just kept complaining to her. Oh my God, I lost this. She just didn't say anything, and I think end of January, she got me a new one, and I was so happy. She was like, "Why are you so happy?" I said, "You don't understand because I would never buy it for myself, right?" I was not that. How much is it? It's not even about $200, right?
Yeah.
I just to take that money and buy it for myself is the problem. I don't know if that's a good thing.
I mean, I get where you're coming from. I think it's important for us to live a little. And it might not be material things for you, right? It could be a nice vacation.
I love to travel.
You love to travel?
love to
For
travel.
work or
Work.
just... So it's not the same. It's not the same. I'm talking spend money, just go somewhere and just relax. Like take care of yourself. I'm talking to the wrong. I have nothing else to say. What is one money mistake you made that actually taught you the most lesson?
What money mistakes I made? I've made lots of money mistakes. I mean, I wouldn't call them mistakes really because, like you said, they are less. Yeah, I think the ones I regret most are the ones I didn't take. I don't beat myself down for making a mistake, right? Okay. But at the end of life, I don't want to look back and say, "Oh, I could have." Right. So I can be very adventurous, right? Yeah. And if it doesn't work my way, I'll probably just be sad for a few hours. In fact, some of my friends feel that I probably don't have an emotion when it comes to reacting to D+, right? Because I'm a deeply spiritual person. I don't attach significance to things, right? Number one, you don't even own them, right? The conference in Houston, they asked me a question. And, I think they said something about what keeps me awake, and I'm like, nothing. Number one, because if I go after a deal and I don't get it, I just okay, that means it's not meant for me, right? Because sometimes it's protection. Yeah. So what was the question again? One mistake I made. Money mistakes, right?
Yep.
I really cannot. I can't think of that. I feel like I made like something I bought and I didn't like. Or
anything. It looks like you don't classify things as mistakes, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
You just move on very quickly.
I move on.
You don't have a lot of regrets.
Nah. So there's a quote I read. It said, I won't dwell on it, but I remember the face of the person who read it. I'll probably not take another advice from you, but that's a joke. I don't take things to heart, but I'm very big on loyalty. Okay. Right. I think one mistake I would say I made is, I trusted a friend to do something for me, and of course I won't be able to mention the name of the person. And this person did this thing, like you give. I could do it for myself. I said, "Oh no, go ahead and do it for me." And it was supposed to require 3 of us. 3 of us mean that I'm the one you're doing it for. So I'm supposed to be primary, right? You make the other 2 secondary. And this person made himself primary, and made me and the other person secondary. And I'm supposed to be the one running this stuff. Right. Of course, it took me. I have to spend extra money to correct that, right, with the government. I'm sorry I couldn't give details, right? And as a result of that, of course, I have to look for a way to ensure that I don't make that kind of mistake with that person. For me, that trust is gone, right? Because I'm the kind of person that if I really trust you, if my life were a car, I'll give you the key to drive it, right? So when you show yourself in that way, you won't even get a seat in the car. Right?
Interesting. If you could go back to your 20s, what is one thing you would do differently?
I would run very fast to relocate to America.
You run very fast to America?
To relocate to America,
To relocate?
Yeah. I relocated at, I think I was 32 when I relocated. If I had to do it all over again, I wish I was born here. So those are the stuff that our kids, I pray they understand the blessing of it. Because someone asked Warren Buffett, what do you think is the biggest gift in life? He said, being born in America.
So you feel the same way?
Oh yeah, it's a womb lottery for anyone who was born in this country. I'm even happy that I made it here on time, right?
Well, how so? I mean, our food is not the best.
How so? Because
there's a lot of things wrong with the country. But I want to hear.
There will always be something wrong with the country or anywhere. The reality is you're living in the richest nation on the earth. This is a company that you can wake up with $200 and go to bed with $1K legitimately without leaving your house. I can share 2 tips. Legitimately.
Apart from Kaushi?
Kaushi, yeah. Right? You don't even need to go to school, to college, to be gainfully employed. You know how many people in Nigeria? Okay, let me give you an instance. I came to this country, 3 months later I signed up to join the military. When I was joining the military, the guy who signed me up made me some promises, 1, 2, 3. By the time I went for my basic training, that guy had left the military, he had retired. But guess what? Those promises were fulfilled. If I were to do that in Nigeria, I need to know the chairman of my local government. I need to know the king. The king has to sign somewhere.
Yeah.
Those.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Those are some of the fact that you could nothing is held back from you. I think that's the biggest beauty of America. I'm always on the side of people saying, America will soon lose the leadership. China's going to take over Russia. I've been to Russia. I haven't been to Russia. I've been to China. Beautiful country, amazing technologies. But guess what? They are nowhere near taking over or getting out. Because what makes this country great is not the size of our roads, even though we have some very nice roads. It's not even the strength of our military, even though we all know we are the biggest in the world. What makes America unique, the American exceptionalism, is the values. The fact that when you jog on your street, the driver coming towards you doesn't need to know your name. They would ensure that they'll give you space. Try that in Nigeria. They'll be like, Auntie, regime. People wanted to cross a zebra crossing in Nigeria. They're like, do you look like a zebra?
Yeah, that's actually happened to me, for real.
So for me, those are the things. Those are the values. And I think we have a lot of work to do to ensure that the next generation understands that, because many of them, because they haven't gone through where we are coming from, right? They haven't seen hardship, right? So they don't get it. I remember when I first relocated, before joining the military, I had to do some service at the high school, and so I took a leadership course. I was teaching the high schoolers, and I asked them, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" You know the typical question we ask young stars in Nigeria, and you're like, "I don't know." I'm like, "I don't know." I'm like, what do you want to study in college? You are in
high school.
I think they were high school. They're like, I haven't thought about it. I was almost crying for them. But by the time I was done, they felt like crying because I'm like, you guys are taking things for granted. America is the greatest country on earth because this is the only country where you can come from nowhere and can be anything.
Yeah.
Let's look at the data. The richest man in the world wasn't even born in this country. Do you think that is possible in Saudi Arabia or in China? No, they would have put in some roadblocks that will stop you. But is anybody challenging Elon Musk? Even with his crazy politics, if he makes a product tomorrow, we'll probably buy it, right? That is the beauty of this country. That is the magic that cannot be replicated anywhere else. Forget what's happening with immigration. America is like a cycle, right? Another government will come and clean up all the mess that we're witnessing right now, right? There's always a shaking. That's what makes this country great. But the reality is, you cannot despise the fact that we are living the best of democracy in the world, in America.
Wow. I rest my case. Well, that's a good one. As an immigrant, I can definitely relate with the opportunities that are available simply because you're here and then when you become American, it's more opportunity. So I can definitely relate to that. Final question. What is one, looks like you're a reader, so I'll ask you, what is one book that changed how you think about money?
That changed how I think about money? It's a book that has nothing to do with money, actually. I need to be 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It's a book about principle. Have you read it?
Not the full book.
Yeah, it's a book that talks about values, principles, right? The idea is, if you don't, it's like, this room is great and all of that, right? If we're wearing shoes, right, we won't feel it much because of this rug, right? So that's what principles are, like the foundation, like, and that's what makes the difference between successful people and folks who don't make it. Because at a point you realize that when you're climbing up, right, it's not about the speed with which you're going on that ladder. It's about, is the ladder leaning against the right wall, right? Because you remember what I said, you can make money in several ways, right?
Yeah.
But when there are no principles, when you don't have values guiding you, you would get there, but it would be the wrong destination.
I love that. My final question. What does building wealth mean to you as a person, as Mr. Salami? What does it mean for you to build wealth?
Building wealth to me is, I believe building wealth is a sacred responsibility. You know, as an immigrant, as a Christian, I believe, that there's a scripture that says that a man should, like, you should make wealth, create wealth for the next generation, right? Yeah. I mean, I'm paraphrasing. I believe it is a responsibility that we need to take seriously. And honestly, we are actually doing better because we all know how our parents did, right? Many of us we are multiples, like, we are way ahead of that curve, right? But the next level is we need to aim to the next level where, I mean, you went to school here, you finished, you had to look for a job and all of that. One of the reasons why I do what I do in Midlo is, by the time my daughter is 11 now, by the time she's 21 or 22, wanting a job, I think it's really been very, very interesting because I don't see her going through the stress I went through, right? Imagine having a bot seat at Anthropic or having access to Sam Altman, right? At that point, your children should not be writing a CV.
Yep.
Right? Because one of the things we are doing, and this is already active. At Midlo, we have like a Gen X community where we are having our kids who are in high school. Some of them are even in middle school. Okay. We're already interning with some of these companies. Some of our companies in our portfolio.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Because the future of work won't be CV-based. In fact, in future, it will be hard for you to see one person working for one company. It will be more like a 1099. Where you'll be like, okay, today I'm going to work for Dumebi. I'm spending 2 hours there, and my rate is 2K. Tomorrow I'll do Anthropic, right? Because, in fact, in the future, there might not even be work. I mean, if we get to AGI, right? But the idea is that to ensure that whatever we are doing, really, what the right answer to that is legacy. To ensure that whatever we're doing, whatever experience we are coming together, we're not letting it drop. We are deliberately curating it. Like when I'm on calls screening deals, my daughter sits with me. Most time you won't know. She's just quiet. And when I'm done with those calls, she'll be like, so this person is asking for 200K at this valuation. I'm like, okay, so do you think it's a good idea? She wasn't really so I know kids are very thorough. Like, I don't like the way she answered this question. I'm like, okay.
That's powerful.
It is powerful, right? Because as parents, we shouldn't just be okay with building the wealth. We need to let them see it. We need to my daughter wanted $5 from me yesterday. I'm like, okay, I don't have $5 for you. She's like, can I make you dinner? I said, yes, now you're talking. And guess what? This morning she was like, so where's my $5? I'm like, you promised. Immediately she said, promise. Okay, I cannot break this promise for her. I have to go bring the $5 and give it to her. Right? Let them understand that you don't get nothing for something for nothing. Yeah. And wealth creation is not just through salary. It's access to value. Yeah. The reason why we invest in Anthropic and all of that is because we are seeing the tools they are building. We're seeing the values. The reason why we raise that much for Anthropic is not necessarily because our network is fantastic. It's because the idea itself is awesome, right? As a parent, I think we owe it to them, because that's a mistake I think some of our parents made. They shielded us from so many things. Yeah. That's one of the reasons why we live on a farm. Because I wanted them to understand that, when you see the chicken or whatever, it's not magic. It's not from a machine. You see the process.
The chicken has given up his life to be on your plate.
Yeah, there's a sacrifice within that process, and letting them, understand the way the bacon is made. I think it's more important than just dashing them money.
That's very, very, very powerful. I've learned so much just from sitting across you, and I hope that people watching this speak a thing or two. Do you have any last words to share with someone watching this? Maybe someone who is at their job, they're worried because of the economy. There's so many things going on, right? And I feel like a lot of people are worried. It's not as rosy as it seems. So what do you have for such pressing?
Yeah, I think what I will have for them, the first thing I will go tell them is they should go join Well Cycle. No, and I'm not doing that because you're sitting in front of me.
Okay.
Even in Houston, I told them, we need to begin to create capital group and take advantage of them.
Okay.
We come from a society where we are individualistic.
Yeah.
Everybody just wants to do their own thing. We haven't assessed the power of a network. See, it is the future to unlocking our power as a bloc in this country.
And when you say we, are you talking about African
Americans, immigrants.
Immigrants.
We need to, because if you see any group that is leading, that is doing whatever, it's because there's a network within the network, like there's a caucus. Because if I have an opportunity now, even if it is for kids, the only people I'll share it are the people closest to me. It's not because I'm wicked, right? So I think it's very, very important. And our people need to learn to pay for things, right?
Yeah.
I don't know where, but it's funny because we live in a system where everything is subscription based, right? But it's very, very hard for them to quantify the value. Maybe because they are friends that is doing it.
Yeah.
Right? You don't know how many people that tell me, why are you charging us 1K? I'll just laugh. Most of them are just like, until when they now see a deal that is very important to them, they're like, why do I want to be? I say, you're 1K, right? I think it's very, very important, because network, just the same way AI is turning everything around, right? An effective network, a capital network, is the next level. Is the secret to the next level. Having people where if you see, like I told you, we needed to raise 2 million. Right? If there was no Midlo, you can't create it at this point. When we had to access 200K, right? It was because of what we have built, that helped us access it. So that's why, and how do we build that? It's through network. If I was doing it as Wale Salami, it would probably have gotten nowhere, right? So we need to learn to create, to give, because sometimes some of those things you won't be paid for those things, right? We have lots of people who serve at Midlo. I remember when we had did some board announcement, they went to ask us, how much is Midlo paying you, right? PSA, we are not paying them anything, right? It's because they believe in the vision, right? And it's very, very important. And it's beyond, for us, it's beyond just investing in OpenAI. I mean, we are going after getting a credit union license, right? Because it's the next level.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know how difficult it is to move 600K within the US banking system. Imagine you own a bank. Would you have that problem? So that's for us. That's the next level. Yeah. We want to be captain of our destinies. This country has given us a leverage, right? We have to be bold to take it to the next level.
Thank you. Mic drop. We don't need to say anything after that, but yeah, this was powerful. I'm very proud of the work that you're doing. I'm very proud of the risk that you're taking. I can imagine Midlo in 10 years from now. I hope that it's bigger and greater and
we have exited some.
Yeah, exited some. And yeah, I'm excited for the work that you're doing. Congratulations. What is the Stanford shirt that you're wearing?
Oh yeah, so I was in Stanford like 2 years ago. I was picked for a program. They have more like a fellowship program for military folks.
Nice.
So Midlo is actually considered as a Stanford alum as a result of that program. So we're part of their alumni ventures.
Got it. Yeah, that's very credible. I love that. Thank you for being on the show.